All right, guys, how we doing? Back with you here on the 9th. Trying to get this over here on the 9th of July. So we're doing traditionals today. So this is real. I'm glad you guys chose this. So this is Wells Fargo. This was our among our other assets here. Well, actually, this ended up being the winner on the day. So some interesting things here. So we got of course, right, with all equities. We're back to 09, looking at the move higher. But this, you get yourself in a bit of a struggle up here with the Elliott structure of this. But I think we've got a count here that works here, although it's a little early to be too definitive about where we are here. But there's definitely some interesting things here to note just from an educational perspective. So just off the bat, we can see there's the foundation of what would appear to be an impulse, right? So we look here, we got one. Okay, we've got our 2, there's the 3, there's the 4, up we go for the 5. So what's the problem? Well, we got a few things here. The first, which will strike anyone who's looked at this chart, I'm sure all the members are looking at this going, thought I had to finish in a 5. All right, well you do. All right, so you can fudge it, but you can't get 5 in there. So we have to rethink that. Now, before we get to that, which we'll get to the hard right edge in a sec, just take note of the way this set of median lines here. This is why always you got to have this somewhere. So there's 2 things to note here. So from the impulse off of the low into the first retracement. Look, so this is a shift pitchfork on. So we've come up 50% per the slope of the market. And just note how perfectly, look at this, how perfectly from this corner, well, of course, median line, but as it relates to Elliott, this would be our 2. But I just, right. Then we break out of it. Then we come back to the upper edge. Or, pardon me, from the underside, we come to the the lower parallel. And that's where we get the rate. So it's still having influence into the market. Now, note here, because the way, if you're counting this with your Elliott hat on, it certainly looks like we've got our 3-wave correction here, particularly since I can get an impulse coming down here. So we got to go A, B, C. So we get just a true 3-3-5. So we get a flat correction here, just pretty much textbook, right? Almost a perfect double bottom. But pivot low into that 1, just beautiful framing. Now, once we've got this, right, so this is, you kind of want to always check both of these. So if we pull over one, now look at this structure here. So part of the tell is when I see something like that, when I see that we're tagging it from underneath and how good this, I know likely there's still influence in the market here. So now I'm going to start checking from other pivots. Get them right on there, even if you have to zoom in and get it. You want to be right on that corner. So now look at this framing. Right, can I get that any scrunched up? I guess I can't. So from that 1, 2, so we're not quite to the 50. So from the low, we're a little shy of the 50 here, but this flat structure, and we get an impulse in that C. Well, now we get a different framing, but it's just as effective. So we see here, rather than here we were on the median line, now we're tagging the upper and lower parallel. So look at this. How beautifully we catch it here from this side to the parallel, then back to the upper parallel. Now we've broken through, which seems like it may have some significance. So again, I make this point repeatedly. You don't want to lose track of this. You want to have this somewhere. So I'm going to take it off just for the sake of decluttering the chart for the video. But if you had this in thirds, so maybe you had daily 4-hour, 1 hour, or weekly daily 4-hour, it's typically how I'll do it. Don't lose track of this. Have this somewhere so you don't forget about it. Right? It's very easy to do. Now, I'm going to take it off here, just having shown you how nicely, and the parallels here. Now, we could, I should make this point. We could simply go to our settings. Oh, shit. What do I want? Come back here. I want to go back to, give me a sec. All right, back to shift. All right, now we want to go back to settings. I missed the click there. Look at the 2. All right, so the 2 seems to be catching it here. Yeah, we get a little throw over here, so there might be a running parallel. So often if you're too far outside, just draw a line along the edge of it and then just pull it down so we get our sliding parallel there. So we can accommodate it via that sliding parallel. It's not uncommon if we're going to get little wicks outside of the edge of it. So that's one thing you can do here, just to keep track of it here. I just demonstrate that. So from the 1, 2, 3, 4, you're dying to go up here, but it's not there. You cannot get 5 there. So what are you left with? Well, it does. Now this is extreme. So I am gonna go ahead and take this off here just to clear up the chart here. So from this, of course, right? You want to. So I can understand the thinking to go, oh hell, man. So what? Right? It's okay. All right, it's a 3. All right. So what? But sure, boy, that sure is. Look at that. Look at the symmetry there, boy. That's just gorgeous. So why do we really care? Do we really care about the fact that we finished with the 3? Look at that's just. It looks right. The symmetry's got. Do we really care? Well, that's really up to the individual. I mean, I can certainly understand that thinking and just going, oh, fuck it. We'll put the 5 over here. Good there. And now we're down. Okay, so let's not worry about it anymore. Well, so if you do that, think about the ramifications of that. If you're saying that that this is an impulse that's finished up here with the 3, right? Which we know you can't call that an impulse, right? Because we technically don't have the qualifications to call it an impulse. So it's something 5 swings complete up here, but we cannot call it an impulse. So you can go, oh, fuck, I don't care. I get you. So from the low to the high, well, if you're trying to play that way, you're looking here and you're going, okay, well, if this is going to be the 5 and I'm looking for the ABC to give me my 2 and we're going to keep going, well, it's not that we don't see wave 2s at the 38, but you certainly, would be anticipating one more push down here to maybe get to the 50 to complete the count here. Now we're going to look at why I think we're likely putting in the 4 here. Now, so that's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable. I wouldn't, I'm not such a purist that I wouldn't, not draw that up and maybe keep an eye on that as well. So you might have this somewhere as well, just to look at the alternate here. But if we're going to be strict per the Elliott rule set, you can't finish it there. It doesn't qualify, right? We cannot finish with the 3. So you look at the 3 and you go, all right, what's going on there? Well, first question, right? When I see a swing and a retracement and then another swing, so we go swing, internal retracement, external retracement. Well, I'm going to certainly want to know if that was algo driven. So I look here. What do I see? I mean, is there ever a video where I've done where it's always there? So yeah, it gets through, but right into, not the 618, into the golden zone. All right, so if I've got 3 pivots like that, right, what does that create potential for? All right, so right, never miss these. Okay, so let's get that. Now we don't need to be in a modifier. So if I'm right on this, it is to the tick damn near. Bear with me here. You want to get these spot on. Let's get slightly off here. Get them right as tight as you can. And if you change time frames, often you got to come back and tweak them a little bit. Look at that, 65 to the tick. Let's get you right over there. Good. Okay, now we pull out, so it's all high and tight. So we get, not only do we get we get a golden corner pocket here, right? It's the #1 trade with a bullet. So from that corner, I've got 80% probability. Caveat: as long as this pivot holds, we're down here. We got a nice ABC correction. We go into the golden zone. Immediately the pivot. Immediately you draw the median lines. There's our target. Our target here. We've got double target. We've got the median line and we've got the algo target here. Well, we hit the algo target. We haven't, note here, when we get the algo target, we haven't hit the median line. It has to kick through a little further to get the median line and then look at the reaction. Right? That's how you know it's an algo. It's not this. It's the reaction at the target. Straight down. So this is actually complicating because I've got a perfectly technical swing here. So again, you're dying to put the 5 here, but if you're going to play Elliott ball, you can't do it, right? So it's just a trader's choice as to whether or not you're going to care about that. Well, it's going to change what you're anticipating if you do care. So it would appear that we have an expanded B wave here at some degree here. So in terms of how we're going to resolve this. So one possibility here is that we've just got a 3-3 and we're going into a 5. Right, so we could have ABC, and then we're going to go into a 5. So you could make a case for it's just an expanded flat. Well, the alternate here is that we've got a WXY. So the difference being, as to way this resolves, we'll make that distinction. So if it's going to be a flat where we're going to have this big expanded B wave, 3, 3, 5, well then if that's correcting the third, right? So we're going to have this unusually shaped correction. Well, if this is a flat, if it's 3, 3, we need 5 coming down here. If it's going to be a WXY, we're looking for an ABC to finish down here. So the way this resolves, we'll be able to look backwards at this and then identify it correctly. Right now, tough to make that call because they look exactly the same. I'm more inclined to go ABC because I think this is AB. Well, I shouldn't say that, right? It could easily. This is unresolved. It could go either way here. So if we come, now I'm still up on the daily. Right? So we have this perfectly technical expanded B wave. Now coming down, what am I getting here? Well, I've got a straight rip down, so it's either the 1 or the A. Well, then coming back the other direction, what's the first question? Is it technical? What would the algos do? Well, we come right into our hot spot, right into your sell zone between the 50 and the 618. Now you could just draw this across and say, well, that's prior. Right? Yeah, we got through, but now we're look here. We start back to that area where it would make sense for that to be some potentially supply coming back into the market, and down we go. So it makes sense. So you can think 1, 2. Okay, what happened next? Well, we don't get an impulse. We get an ABC. So given that the shaping of that, now you start to look more into the idea that, well, if that's an ABC, and this is so the alternate being, it could be 1, 2 ABC. We've already overlapped the 1, so perhaps we have a diagonal. We're going to finish with an ending diagonal. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, looking for the ABC to finish down here. So that's one possibility here. So the alternate being, let's see. Oh, yeah. Now I want that's funny. All the times that I bitch about this, and now I want it to all stay together, and it won't do it. Son of a bitch. Trading, you drive me crazy with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this off for the time being. So let's look at the possibility of the ABC. Well, if it's AB, that looks like ABC. So we don't get a 5 to finish the C. Now we could still be just in a series of ABCs here. But if we are going to finish in a 5, I don't really have it. So what would be the possibility here? Well, if it's WXY, so one possibility here. If we're done, well, there's our expanded flat. Boom, boom, boom. Expanded flat, right? Almost baseline here. We come just beyond this. Now we're going up. That would imply that we're going up. The 4 is in. Okay. The 4 is in, so we might look at that 4 relative to that 3 and say, well, how does that line up? Well, so if we grab from our 2 low up to the proposed 3 pivot. Well, first thing you can't help but notice, right, is look from this 38. We go just shy of the algo target. That's where we get our reaction. My guess is that's likely tied to something. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so they use the secondary pivot here. So from this pivot, swing 50 3 times before they go up. Here, let me take this off. Before they go up and get their target, right? So, right, if it's not right here on the pivot, check the next. This is the secondary pivot, but likely an algorithm used that tied to this pivot. So this was used, right? So we come to the 50, and then from the 50, right, 3 times, straight to it. And oh, by the way, right, don't forget that within that move, there was that move. Get you right on it. There we go. All right, so we had shit, man. If you see that, boy, after that, oh, is that don't forget, right? So it's always about stacking as much as we can possibly get on there. Go back to original, boom. Right, man, that's for a technician. That's as good as it gets, man. That's as good as it gets, right? So you get a. So we have the algo play from the 50 followed by a golden corner that takes you right to not only a double algo target, but a median line. Holy shit, man. That's just remarkable confluence, right? So here we are on the daily. So we were just looking at the dollar yen, how many times this algorithm plays in there. Well, obviously, a major equity like this is going to be all over the place. Like, how many times do you need to see it before you never look at 3 pivots again the same way, right? And every time you get this, well, forget every single time you get a 50, you've got a set of median lines. So let's get back to here. I'm getting a lot of stuff on here. Let's get back to original. Oh, by the way, look where that goes. I'm a little sloppy on that corner, but let's get that 2 off of there. Let's get that off for the time being. And on this one, we don't need that off. Let's get that one off. Okay, it makes that point a little bit better. Now look at this cluster of confluence up here. God, that's just spectacular. For me, if you're a technician, that's a screaming O right there. That's just as good as technical analysis gets. All right, so there's your target. And then, man, so what was that? That was 65, and then we dropped to 42. Yeah, so still just nothing but working on the daily. There's no need to go below the daily here. All right, now let's clear this up and think about where we could be going next if there's a trade here. I'm assuming you guys are members may have already found all this. It's not that hard to find. Okay, so ABC, are we coming down? Well, we got to look here and say, well, so if we're done, this is a 1-2. So if you're bullish here, there's this potential trade here, because per the expanded flat, the 4 is here. We're not done yet. All right, so there we go. So 1, deep 2, granted. Now you could trade this here. No, either one of these pivots could be your exit. So this is definitely, we've gone very deep, probably 887. Well, we're just past the 786, and the ABC is in there, so it's not, right? We know this is our shorthand for the wave 3. So there's a very tradable move here. So I am going to go lower just so something like this looks pretty good to get us up here to finish that 5. And again, I'm just free drawing it here. You got to have a map somewhere. So let's go to a 4 hour and let's dig into this a little bit. Okay, so from that 1, 2. All right, let's get this off. We can kind of just do that. Now you guys know, I never do this because I find it annoying, but you guys know that in the settings there, you can just add the wave, right? If you want to do it that way. Right, I just draw them in because I find this after a while it gets kind of annoying to have it all over the chart. I'd rather just draw them in to make the point, but you can always just do that. If you prefer to have your roadmap look like that, you can certainly just attach the wave to the count. So if that's 1, 2, well, I've got a contender here. I've got a possible corner pocket. I get right on there. All right. So now let's put all of our fib tools on this. So if that's a 1, that's a 2. Well, here's my high probability location for my 3rd. So let's shrink this down a little bit. So if we're going to put it in just typical wave 3 relationships, does that finish us up here? Well, that sets us up potentially for a double top, right? If we're going to finish up there. So then you're looking, so maybe I'm going to get an extension in the 3, in the 5. Maybe if this is the 4, because if you come back to this and put it in context, maybe again, assuming we get a motive wave here, if this is 3, 4, well, let me go all the way back out. And let's get some targets together for that 5. Ah, shit, God, that's annoying. Won't let me scrunch up anymore. I guess we'll have to do a 3-day. All right. So from that low. Okay, let's take the length of the 1. Oh, wrong one. Length of the 1. Projected from the proposed 4. Right? Well, there's 100%. Right? Well, here's 2 very common targets. Would be the 100% the length of the 1, or the 1272 the length of the 1. Now it's a little bit, this is it would be worth. Well, they're so close here. I think we just leave it there. All right, so this maybe an extension in the 5th puts you up here. So you'd have a target, let's call it 69, and then it does look like, oh, you might do something along these lines here. try and get that pivot here. So we've got a little throw over here, but just trying to get this upper parallel here. So that's how I would draw it. All right, so looking, maybe there's a little more kick here. Maybe the 3 has it. It's a deep 2, so the deeper the 2, you know, we're going to get beyond the 1618. That would be somewhat surprising. So that's what I see here. I think the 4. This is the 4, right? If you again per the Elliott count, I think you got to go with the expanded flat into the 4, and we're just getting started. And there's more legs here for this to come up and finish this potentially. Now the 5 up here, this is a reasonable target. Let's call it 69, 70 bucks up here. If this is going to come up and finish, now it's very tradable right here. So if you're a bull, you could get long here. You could do it options or the underlying equity here with a very clear I'm out here. I'm out. Because if this thing starts to come down, well, we can kind of see here we've got a low volume node over here. So if it were going to come down and start to correct, and for whatever reason this is going to be our pivot, and we're headed towards that 50. Well, if we're going to start to get, you know, if this is going to fall apart and this is going to end up coming down to finish as an impulse, and then we're back to the idea that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we've got a flat rather than a WXY. If it's going to be one, I better draw it here. I'm confused. If this is ABC, so we've got 3, 3, and we're going to get the 5. Well, then we've got our flat, i.e. 1, 2, 3, 4, we get the 5. So you can actually trade this both ways. So you can take the long here on the assumption that we're 1, 2. Very modest amount of loss if you're stopped out of here. These are so close. We're within a buck. So there's... I would use this pivot myself. If it breaks that pivot, I'm out, right? It breaks down the corner pocket trade. We'd be essentially putting in a double bottom. And there's one other thing here I'm going to show you as to why I think this is our pivot. I would trade the pivot here. If I break this pivot, I want to be out. I'll take the small loser and reevaluate on the idea that maybe this is going to finish as a flat. So we're going to get a 335 down to the 50. Right now here, note, if this is going to stay as a corrective wave off of the 3, and we're gonna end up with a motive wave here, an impulse in this case. If we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, A, B, C into the 4, and then we're gonna finish with the 5 here, well, we got to pay attention to that wave 1. So if it comes down here, if it comes down here and we finish with the 5 here, well, that's all the better, because you could be a buyer here at the 50 with a relatively tight stop, because if it takes out the wave 1 high, then this count is wrong. And this is, I don't know what we're going to do with it then. We'll revisit. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But if we come down here, we break this wave 1, then likely trend change is underway and something else is going on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're stopped out here, I'd still be a buyer. Look at all the support you've got down here, right? This is just a monster, right? Point of control right here. So if I push off because it's visible range, and just get what you can see. There's plenty of support down here. Where's the gap? Right here. All right, so if it's going to come down here, this would be your buy zone, looking for a push after. Look where that target is. All right, so this algorithm here, there will be software that will start buying here. We'll stay long until it either gets stopped out on the other side of the 65, or they get to 79.87. Right, so you got multiple ways to play it. Either the 2 is in and we're off and going, or this is going to resolve down here at the 50. You're going to take a small loser here, reload at the 50, stop if we violate the wave 1 high. Right, with plenty of upside. Both of them give you plenty of upside here. Right, this one's actually even better. Right, there you go. Tricky one, but some very interesting technical goings on in the midst of all of that. All right, guys, there you go. That's probably long enough, 24 minutes. I went long today, but there was a lot of meat in here. Okay, guys, talk to you later.